Alright guys, I've officially entered my Bruce Wayne era. However, I'm making this video at, I know it looks fucking dark in my room right now, but it's currently 8:45 p.m. Alright, let's clip this guy up. Awesome, so today's video is going to be on how can I space out my meals properly in order to lose fat as a blue collar worker. So, just give you guys some background knowledge. I'm 21 years old. In the past year, I've managed to lose 40 pounds. I ran a half marathon and I ran a full marathon, and I'm right now training for a half Ironman. And I'm going to be telling you that time, a busy schedule are all excuses as to why you're not achieving your goals and how you can actually start achieving them. So it's very simple. We're going to start off first by the most important meal. The most important meal of the day, and that is going to be breakfast. How should you structure your breakfast? You need to be front loading protein and fats early on in the morning. This is super important because it's going to give you more of a... This is going to... It's going to stabilize your hormones. You're going to have more of a satious feeling, so you're not going to be craving food. And it's really important to microdose your carbohydrates, and I'm going to be explaining why. So what you need to understand with your carbohydrates is that if you have too many carbohydrates in the morning, you're going to have too much glucose in your body, and you're eventually going to have a crash at around 10 to 12 p.m., and then you're kind of screwed for the rest of the day. Here is exactly to do is move through slow digesting carbs very early on. Move through slower digesting carbs early on inside of the morning. And my typical go-to carb source that I suggest and even my clients take is going to be oats. If you're having an adequate amount of carbs, you want to have a protein source that is dense, and it's going to be something that converts to energy and gets you some vitamins. The best protein source I'm going to say is eggs. You cannot go wrong with eggs. I don't think there's been a day in the past 3 or 4 years that I haven't had eggs. So eggs are a staple. So now that we've moved from the breakfast portion, here's the main part that you're really trying to focus on. At work in your shift, I'm going to tell you right now, a peanut butter and jam sandwich, a protein bar, a fucking cheese string, a granola bar, those are not going to tie you down. Those are little bits and bites and placeholders that literally get metabolized within the next 30 minutes of consuming. So what you need to do instead is meal prep. I'm going to be blunt with you guys. If you are not meal prepping, you're already losing out on so many important parts. And this is not even about muscle building gains. This is about stabilizing your body, your hormones, and giving you a nice return on investment to give energy at your shifts and to also be seeing those results, because you don't want to be fat anymore. You want to lose weight. So what you need to do next is have a lean protein source and also carbs. So some great forms of that is going to be ground beef, chicken, ground turkey, anything that is kind of very high in nutrients that is going to fill you up, give you a quick conversion of energy, and they go through the digestive tract. Mind you, all the foods that I'm going to be listing in this video are nutrient dense, holistic, whole foods. The reason is that, guess what, Sandra? If you're fucking overweight, you cannot overeat on whole foods. I can guarantee you that you trying to overeat on a steak is no bueno. It's not going to happen. So that goes into meal number 2, which is going to be at 12 o'clock or whenever your lunch typically is. Now, disclaimer, if you are working a busy schedule, you might have uneven lunches, and that's just the reality of it. There's a whole separate video that I'll be making that kind of goes over how to deal with those and some protocols. But for now, we're just going to go through what it would be if it was lunchtime at your shift. So typically the next meal is going to be having carbs incorporated into it. And we're also going to, again, keep the proteins high and some healthy fats. So chicken breasts, ground beef, anything lean. I like to kind of create an A-B structure that I can kind of filter and rotate through. So like in the morning, I'll have one meal, and then at noon, I'll have another meal. And so that's pretty much self-explanatory. There's not a whole lot to it, but you really want to be spacing out your meals every 2 to 4 hours. The reason for this is that most men in the trades, especially if you are over 30, your metabolism's fried right now, and you're not getting the right food. So you might be hitting your step goals, you might be extremely active, but you go 15 hours without eating a meal, and then you binge and eat a mount load of food after your shift, And then you wonder why you're not losing weight. And that is exactly why you need to space out your meals and microdose them throughout the day. This keeps your metabolism running, keeps your body constantly getting energy, and it prevents you from storing anything. It basically uses every form of carb that you have as fuel. It uses it to burn into your day process because, again, your body uses carbs and sugar, but your brain does as well to cognitively function. So those two go hand in hand, are super important. Which goes into which goes into the most important meal of the day, and a lot of people get wrong. As soon as you get off your shift, you want to be doing your cardio or going to the gym. I typically, for my clients new or off, I say do a fasted state of cardio. You want your body to be burning fat before it starts to tap into your glycogen, so that you're losing weight and you're kind of training your body to understand the difference between fat burning phase and being in that aerobic kind of, that's more endurance side of things, but using carbohydrates and your glucose as energy. So now we got that out of the way, what you want to do is, this is super important. You want to prepare this meal with quick converting low fiber carb options. So my go-to recommendations are going to be rice cakes, cream of rice. Oats are there, but they're a little more fibrous, so they do kind of digest a little slower. Shit, dude, there's something on my arm. They're just phenomenal. They digest super easily. As myself training in endurance training, I can tell you the return on investment, the energy you get from it is like spontaneous. And then you can also pair that up with a little bit of honey, and you also want to balance out your electrolytes, throwing on some pink Himalayan salt. Or for those of you guys who are in a cutting phase and want to build muscle, I highly recommend table salt, iodized table salt in particular. But that's pretty much it for your carb intake. But then this is the most important part that's killer. You don't want to just consume carbs because, mind you, you want to keep your appetite going. You want to keep your body running. This is when you want to mix in a lighter protein source. So I typically go with the whey isolate because of the fact that they don't have nearly as much amino acids as nutrient-dense foods. Your body will actually break down that protein powder a lot quicker, and it's something that's just quick converting. And then my next recommendation is going to be any form of fat. So I typically use all natural nut butter. It's just super easy, balances out your hormones. It's satiating. It is very easy. There's not any processed ingredients in it. It's just easy to going. And then from there, that is pretty much how I structure out my pre-workout meals. And then we kind of get into the last meal of the day, and I typically go with a dairy source. So my dairy source for my diet is typically going to be 0% Greek yogurt. And I just make a yogurt bowl before bed, so you can throw in some berries, get some antioxidants in there, a little bit of carbohydrates to let your body kind of chill out for the rest of the day. And that glucose will convert overnight, and you'll have energy to wake up the next morning and not feel like a zombie. And then you also want to just throw in a bit of protein. I mentioned protein because protein is super important, especially if you work in the trades and you are over 30 years old. Your body does not function the way it used to, and that is not a problem. You just need to know how to utilize it. And protein is the best because it gives you protein is just the best macronutrient, and it's pretty self-explanatory. We don't need to go too depth into it. I really want to preface is that it's the most satiating macronutrient, so it's the slowest to digest, which means that your body's actually going to take a lot longer to break it down, meaning you are just going to be full for longer. And so that is typically how I structure out my day if I was somebody who's working in the trades. It's trying to lose weight, but also keep a substantial amount of muscle. The goal here you need to remember is that you're not trying to become frail and skinny. You want to build some form of musculature structure. That way when you are working, lifting up heavy loads is not going to destroy you, and you're not going to feel like you're breaking your back or going to be hospitalized every single day. Yeah, I think I just spewed out a lot of shit, but anyways,